cannot compete with the dancing and the singing we just saw. I'm sorry. I'll owe you that one. I am so excited to be a part of this wonderful event put together by a great company, Sagicor. We're 500 advisors from 10 different countries have gathered together to share and to learn and to become better at your craft. It is a true honor to be here as the first MDRT president ever to visit the beautiful country of Jamaica. In my introduction, I think they mentioned that I'm serving as president of MDRT, and this is my third international deployment since I took over the reins, if you will, just a month ago. So I've had a chance to visit Australia and Korea, and now my favorite, beautiful Jamaica. This is my first time, and I can guarantee you I will be back. So over the last 3.5 years and serving as part of the executive committee of MDRT, I've had a chance to travel to many countries. And every country has its own culture and oftentimes a different language. They eat different food, they dance to different rhythms. But I have found that all of them have one thing in common, and that is our desire to live a meaningful life, a life that impacts the lives of others. So today I'm going to be talking about some of those commonalities that I have found among many financial advisors, thousands of them. Now, some of you are MDRT members and have attended an annual meeting or maybe more than one. I met Lynette yesterday, who's been a member for, what, 29 years, Lynette? And those who have had that chance know that what makes MDRT somewhat unique is our desire to share. In fact, we had a meeting yesterday with many of your managers, and that word came out. It was like, what is it about MDRT that you all share generously, all your best practices, all your trade secrets? Yes, we do. That's in our DNA. We get nourished by the knowledge that we're helping others grow and become better at what they do. And your theme today, the theme of this conference is next level, reaching the next level. Now, I'm not going to pull a Mark and stand on a chair now, because I'm probably not going to make it, but what a great concept to always look at reaching the next level, not just professionally, but also personally. Now, before I get into the content of my speech, if you will, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about where I come from and who I am. So I live in a beautiful town in South Florida called Juno Beach. It's on the Atlantic, and it's only 2 square miles. 2 square miles of paradise. We are on the ocean, and I know you have gorgeous beaches in Jamaica. We can't compete with them. But one thing that makes our beaches very famous and sought after is that Juno Beach is one of the most prolific turtle nesting areas in the world. So every year we have the turtle season, the egg hatching season, if you will, and hundreds of turtles, if not thousands, come out and lay their eggs. Now, what's interesting about these turtles is that after they are hatched and they go back to the ocean and they grow, get bigger, they travel thousands of miles. In fact, they have placed GPS devices on some of these turtles and realized that they travel from South Florida all the way to Nova Scotia in Canada. And that's interesting, but this is the freaky thing. When they're ready to lay their eggs, they come back to the exact beach where they themselves were born. They have an amazing GPS system in their little brains. Now, you'll be happy to know that today I'm not going to be talking about turtles, but I want to talk to you about the direction of our own lives. So turtles have this great GPS. We should too. And our North Star should be that life of our dreams. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Now, before we talk about the life of our dreams, I think it's helpful to look back at our past. So we all have our personal story, don't we? If we meet each other for the first time, after a few minutes, we'll start sharing about our past, our life, our past experiences, those things that had an emotional impact on us, that really affected us, that made us who we are today, and potentially the lessons we have learned. Now, I was just chatting with Amir just a few minutes before the program started, and we're talking about our pasts and how we've all had ebbs and flows. You know, no one has had the perfect life. It doesn't exist. And yet, we wouldn't change anything because our past made us the person we are today. So we have to acknowledge our past, but we are not defined by our past. So more about that in a few minutes. So do we all agree with that our past is not who we are? So then we think about the vision for our future. What do we want our futures to look like? Who do we want to become? And unfortunately, not everyone spends quality time thinking about the future. I know you do, because you are financial advisors, and you help your clients think about their futures. And it's important that we think about ours as well. So when we look at our dreams for the future, if I were to ask every one of you, and let's say there are 500 people here, I'm not sure what the number is, but let's say it's 500, I would get 500 different answers, because our dreams, our vision for that future is unique to who we are. We all have a calling. We all have a purpose, right? So it needs to be honored, and yet we don't always do. So if I were to ask all of you, what is your vision for the future? And I go one by one. Some of you might say, I just want to be around the people I love and who love me back. Others might say, I want to have a secure future. I want to achieve financial security. Maybe one or two might say, I want to be number one in my company. I like the idea of being recognized, of having an honor bestowed on me. But I know that every one of you would give me this last answer. I want to be happy. I want to live a happy life. And if that's the case, if we all want to be happy, is there anyone here who dreams of being unhappy? Okay, no hands. Good, I'm in the right room. If everyone wants to be happy, why is it that everyone is not happy? Now, parentheses here. Jamaican people are different from most people I've met. You are all happy. You and Finland, they say Finland is the happiest country in the world. Well, Jamaica is a very close second. But for the most part, we all deal with things in life that make us unhappy. So if we all want to be happy, if we all dream of happiness, why is it that we're not all there? Now, if we were to visit a public library, whether it's in Kingston or in New York City or Miami or anywhere in the world, or if we were to Google the word biographies or personal stories, we would find thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of biographies out there. We would find a biography for every type of life. Some of them speak of successes, and some of them, if not all of them, speak of failures. Every successful person that's ever been alive has faced both. There's a story for every one of us. And for me, it's so interesting. I love reading biographies, because for me, it's a mystery. Why is it that some people have achieved success and happiness and fulfillment and enlightenment, and others have not? We all want to be happy, but why are some happy and some are not? I've always been intrigued by that. And one of my most vivid memories is when I was a child. I grew up in South America, in Paraguay. I was born in the US, but moved when I was 3 years old. And my father, I'm one of 9 children. So we're, me and Tiffany. Is Tiffany here? Maybe she didn't make it yet. She's been working really hard. But I'm one of 9, and my father would get all 9 of us together on Saturday mornings, and we would share what book we were reading. We had to always be reading a book. And if the book we were reading was a biography, we got an extra point. After so many points, we went out for ice cream. So it helped me kind of build this desire to learn from others. Because why make the same mistakes if we can avoid it, right? So today, my father is still with us, and at age 93, he still meets with now his grandchildren and great-grandchildren to talk about what book they're reading this week. So it's a beautiful thing. Yes, Daddy. His birthday is coming up. He'll be 94. So I personally, and I'm sure many of you, find tremendous value in reading the life stories of so many people that we admire. So what is the secret of success? Why have some of these people we read about succeeded and some have not? And we all know people in our lifetimes that we look at and we go, wow, everything they touch turns into gold. And others that have all the opportunities and it just doesn't happen. They both probably have the same challenges, the same opportunities, and yet there's something different. So I believe that the difference is in their attitude, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. So I want to tell you about 2 of my clients, just to kind of illustrate the point I'm trying to make. So for the last 15 years, I've been working almost exclusively with people in transition. So about 65% of my clients are female, are women, who went through a change in their lives. Divorce, they lost their spouses, they're looking to retire. And this work has, remember, I like biography, so I like to analyze people's lives. I want to learn from it. It's become almost a laboratory of human behavior to see how they react to something as traumatic as a divorce or the death of their loved one. They say that when we're going through a trauma like that, we revert back to a 4th grade level psychologically. So we turn to age 9 again. It's very hard to make decisions when you're 9 years old. Life decisions, big decisions. So it's not unusual for these clients to come to my office and they're very confused about what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to share with you the story of two clients with a common story and yet two different outcomes. Again, with the hope that this will help us figure out where we are and what we aspire to do from here on. So my two clients are Janet and Arlene. So we'll start with Janet. She came to my office as a new client, had been referred to me by her divorce attorney. And she had just gone through a divorce. And needless to say, she was distraught. She was very upset and wasn't sure how it was all going to affect her. She was hopeless. Her life had been planned according to her marriage and what they had planned together. And suddenly everything had changed. Her foundation had been shattered. And she knew that she would face financial challenges, that she would need to get a job. Until then, she was raising the children. At about the same time, another client, Arlene, came to see me with a similar situation. She too had just gone through a divorce, same situation. She had stayed home to raise the children. And as soon as the children went to college, the marriage fell apart. Just like Janet, Arlene was confused about the future. What is going to happen with me now? How am I going to pay my bills? What is this going to do for my future? And she too realized very soon that she had to get a job. So we met with both of them, my partner and I, obviously in separate meetings. And I soon realized that Janet was having a really hard time. She was confused. She couldn't work with me on putting a plan together. She missed a few appointments. It was just very, very hard. And every time she left my office, I felt drained. It was like, oh, my energy had just plummeted. At the same time, I was working with Arlene. Now, Arlene was a different story. She was very sad as well. She knew that this was going to be a turning point in her life, but there was something different about her. In fact, she soon realized she had to make the best of it. And the sooner we got together and planned for her future, the better. She got herself a job that offered her an opportunity to progress, get promoted over time. And she started feeling more hopeful about the future. When she left my office, I felt energized. Same story, very different outcomes. So let's fast forward a year later. Janet is still depressed. She's still victimized by what happened. She keeps asking herself, why me? What did I do wrong? And of course, a lot of blame towards her former spouse. She did get an entry-level job that really offered her no future. She was stuck in that job. She would probably be in that job for 20 years if she kept her job. But she talked about it as boring, a boring experience. You know, I don't like my job. I have to go every day because I need the money, but I don't like it. And basically, she was stuck there. Arlene, on the other hand, was feeling better. She had recently been promoted. And while Janet had no ambition, Arlene was starting to dream again. Now, parentheses. I have many clients that fit this profile. Not everyone is in this extreme or that extreme. There is a full spectrum. And my challenge as a professional is to move them from this side of the spectrum where they're depressed and victimized to a place of power and possibilities. So having this kind of exposure to these clients has really helped me reflect on what life is all about. So my question was then, why was there such a difference? What made Janet behave so differently from Arlene? Why do you think it was? It's one word. I'm hearing all the right words, and they're all synonymous with choice. It's a choice. Happiness is a choice we make ahead of time. Period. End of story. Happiness is a choice we make ahead of time, even when the worst is happening. So, how can we learn to live more like Arlene? How can we be more intentional? How can we be more aligned with what we feel is our purpose? So I'm going to give you 6 ideas, 6 suggestions of what I found has worked for me and many of my clients. Now, we talked about earlier, no one has had the perfect life. You know, I don't share this often, but, you know, I had a brain surgery almost 10 years ago. No one thought I was going to pull through, and by the grace of God, I did. So, thank you. And yet, there's not one day I don't wake up and feel so tremendously blessed. I love that song earlier. We are all so blessed. And the reason we're blessed is not just because we're part of a wonderful profession, an honorable profession that changes the lives of our clients. We're not only blessed because we have people in our lives who love us and who we love back. We're not only blessed because we live in the middle of paradise. We are blessed because we have an awareness that it's a choice we make ahead of time. So these are some suggestions, and take what you want, but my goal for all of you is that you reach greatness. And when I say greatness, I don't mean fame, I don't mean honors, I don't mean the spotlight at all. For me, greatness is living a life that's intentional and aligned with our purpose, and that gives us the opportunity to serve others. And if we ever, thank you. And if we ever have the opportunity to become leaders, we practice what's called servant leadership. It's all about empowering others. It's not about us getting the credit for anything. That doesn't matter. We can't take the credit with us. We leave the ego at the door and we come in and we ask ourselves, how can I serve? How can I serve? So we wake up in the morning. First of all, we look in the mirror, we say, today I choose happiness. And the second question is, how can I serve? So, 6 suggestions. Take what you want. You don't have to take anything. I know you're already happy people, but maybe you can help your clients with some of these. So, number 1, let's start with gratitude. I love the quote that says, when we start noticing the things we are grateful for, the things we lack become less important. When we start noticing the things we are grateful for, the things we lack become less important. Let's make an inventory of the things we're grateful for. Let's keep a gratitude journal if that works for you. Before you go to bed, write 3 words. It doesn't have to take 20 minutes. 3 words of something specific that happened that day that made you feel blessed and grateful. And when you wake up in the morning, what are the first 3 things that come to mind? It might be Mila's baby's face, or it might be Lynette knowing that she's been a part of this wonderful organization for 21 years. It might be any one of you remember your last dance moves. I cannot compete with you, Philbert. Whatever it is, we all have things to be grateful for. Do we agree? Yes. Okay, good, good. I'm in the right room. Number 2, create your true vision. What does that mean? For me, it means live the life you are expected to live by your Creator. Don't live based on what others expect of you. Our decisions have to be decisions that come from the heart. You know, so many of us, and I include myself for many years, want to make our parents proud. And then you get married and you want your husband to be proud of you or your wife to be proud of you. And you adapt your wishes to what they want you to be or do or become. And then the kids come, and kids want mom to be this and or dad to do that. And then your boss expects you to do these things. And then it's some other person and some other, and before you know it, you lose yourself to it. You forget who you were. Let's create our true vision, and let's allow ourselves that white space, as they call it now, where you take time to just think, whether you call it prayer time, meditation time, reflection time. Do it quietly with yourself. And if you want to have a journal and write down thoughts, you can do that. You don't have to, because your subconscious mind is there awake every minute of the 24-hour cycle. It never falls asleep. It's always creating. It's always wanting you to be your true self. So just listen to it, and you'll get inspiration that's pretty amazing. The third thing is, and I love this one, rewrite your personal story. What does it mean? For me, it means that if you think back of your past, all the things that happened to you, if you were to write your own autobiography, you will find that some of the things that happened to you were tough, were challenges, were difficult. If they no longer serve you and instead are dragging you down, you feel victimized by that, rewrite the story. You're the author of your own life masterpiece. So let me give you an example. You're my family here, so I'm going to tell you stuff I don't normally talk about, but I feel just so a part of you. I went through a tough divorce. Did I like it? I hated it. I hated it. I loved my husband. But it was a fact that I was going to go through divorce. I was left with 4 children to support. So at the time, I thought it was a terrible thing. Today, I think back, and it was a blessing. It was a blessing. Part of the reason it was a blessing, frankly, is 10 years after my divorce, I reconnected with the love of my life after 35 years. And we had an amazing 3 years together. He was a man I fell in love with. I was crazy in love before I got married, and things just were not meant to be. We were in different countries, it just didn't work. But we reconnected, we had 3 amazing years. Now, God took him from me. But I will never, no one can take away my memories of those 3 years. So, what I have done, I could play the victim all day long with you guys. You know, a lot of stuff has happened, but I look back at my history and I feel so blessed because I was able to detach from a man that was holding me down and was not being transparent and authentic. I devoted my life to my 4 children for those 10 years. I didn't want to date, I didn't want to, you know, I wanted them to, and now today I have 4 children who are successful, 2 are doctors, 2 are lawyers. They're on their way to living their true life. And I reconnected with this angel who I never thought I would be with. When we said goodbye, before I got married, I was 20 years old. We embraced and we cried, and I thought I would never see him again in my life. 35 years passed, and we reconnected. So you never know. But I have rewritten this so that now I look back, I say I was blessed, I detached from the wrong person, I devoted my life to my kids, and it paid off. And I reconnected with this wonderful man and had 3 years that were the best years of my life. So that's how I chose to rewrite my personal story, and you can all do the same. So the next suggestion, take action. Okay, this can be fun today. Maybe you're a little bit inspired, maybe. But if you don't take action, it's going to be one more speech you heard. Remember, people remember less than 10% of what they heard, right? Or 20, whatever the statistics are. It's a very small percentage. But if you take action today, whatever it is, it could be go buy yourself a journal or take a piece of paper and write down what you want your life to be. If you were painting a picture of who you want your future self to be, what does it look like? I'm going to be, let's say one of your goals is to achieve membership. You're a member, and the following year you're a quarter of the table member, and then you're a top of the table member, and you're changing people's lives, and you have financial success so you can provide for your loved ones, and maybe even for those disadvantaged people who need help, etc. Whatever it is, you all know what it is if you take the time to reflect. So there's no better time than now. There's never going to be the perfect time, by the way. Don't say, well, I'll do it, when I finally, close this case, or, I'll do it when this happens. I'll do it after I get divorced. I'll do it no. There's never going to be a perfect place. Start today would be my humble advice. And of course, don't give up. You're going to face bumps in the road. It's not going to be smooth sailing, believe me. I'm probably the oldest person in the room. It's not going to be smooth sailing. I wish I had better news for you. There are going to be bumps. It's okay. Every bump will make you stronger and more determined. Right? Are we together? Okay. And finally, don't do it alone. You're part of an awesome organization. Sagicor has managers, has team leaders, has a structure of people that are invested in your success. They want you to succeed. Because if you succeed, then they feel good about what they do. And they succeed as managers, as executives. So seek the help. In my case, I have a study group. There are 5 of us. We're in different parts of the US. We're on the phone every single month with my study group for 2 hours. We share everything, how much we brought in that month in terms of production. We share what's going on in our personal lives. We share what's going on in our offices, in our practices. We're open books, because when you share not just what's happening, but what you will be accomplishing, it's harder to not do it, because you're going to be held accountable by your study group, by people that trust you and who you trust. So don't do it alone. Seek mentors, coaches, form a study group. If you're not part of a study group, start one. Pick people who are like-minded, who you enjoy being with, and who you trust. That you can just say, let's meet once a month, and let's talk about where we want to be in the future. So we're almost done. So in terms, don't do it alone. I never clicked that. So choosing your own greatness. Again, wake up in the morning, look in the mirror. The first thought is, today I choose greatness. Because our Creator deserves it. He created us to achieve greatness, not to live mediocre, average, boring lives. Do we agree? So I want to end with a quote, but before that, just something that has helped me kind of visualize everything I said into one image. Think of a candle, a little candle. You light the candle, and you're in a dark room. A candle lightens the entire dark room. And just like a candle, there are people, those people who choose greatness because they choose happiness and they choose service. They're like a candle. When they walk into a room, and you all know people like that, they're jubilant about their work. They love what they do for a living. They come across as having inner peace. There's a quiet confidence about them. They're not frazzled or tense. They're always calm. They have a way of being cheerful and welcoming. They're kind and non-judgmental. Do you know people like that? I love it. I love it. They're also students and they're teachers. They're both at the same time. They're always learning from others. And they're always being a role model to those who look at them, who follow them, who admire them. So, having said that, I want to end with a quote. And this quote is from the great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Have you heard of him? Okay. So he wrote, or he said, or someone recorded, not sure, "Very little is needed to live a happy life. It is all within us. It is in our way of thinking." We all have it. We all think, so we can all feel and we can all act according to what is right for us. It has been such an honor to spend time with you, and I wish every single one of you the greatness that lies within you. Thank you so much.